Ms. Bass.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for holding this hearing. Professor Goodwin, I know that some scholars, including yourself, have pointed out that some of the states most eager to ban abortion are those with a history of Jim Crow and voter suppression. Can you speak to this relationship and what this could mean for other civil rights and liberties, including for people who live in blue states, such as myself, California?
So historically, during the period of slavery, we had Confederate slave states. Many of those are states that today seek to ban abortion, that denied African Americans fundamental human rights. This Congress provided those rights through the 13th Amendment, the 14th Amendment upheld by the United States Supreme Court, but we've seen the dismantling of those rights through voter suppression. And historically, we've seen African American women suffer in inordinate ways, and that suffering continues. In the state of Mississippi, the subject of the Dobbs opinion, 80% of cardiac deaths in that state during pregnancy are Black women. In the state of Mississippi, Black women are 118 times more likely to die by carrying to term of pregnancy than by having an abortion. In those states, we still see disparities in terms of pay to Black women, and these histories are something that are undeniable and that place us in a space of a new Jane Crow, a system that from slavery through Jim Crow has resulted in the unequal treatment of Black women. And I thank you for the question.
Sure, and just along that line, what do you think if the Roe decision is overturned, which is, where we believe it's going? How do you think, though, that relates or puts in jeopardy other civil rights and liberties?
While other civil rights and liberties are at stake, even though in the leaked draft opinion, Justice Alito suggests that there are some guardrails around those, such as contraceptive access. But that's actually hard to credit and will be more illusory than real, since Justice Alito himself authored the opinion in Burwell v. Hobby Lobby, which itself sought to dismantle part of the Affordable Care Act provision that companies would provide comprehensive contraceptive care to their employees. Burwell v. Hobby Lobby provided an exception in that case for companies that identified themselves as having religious rights, something that had never existed before Justice Alito's opinion. And so we see LGBTQ equality on the line, contraceptive access on the line, including IUDs, which are not abortifacients, but that are popular forms of contraception. And there are already state lawmakers that are saying they're seeking to do away with those fundamental rights associated with contraception. And next, we will see also sex education targeted as well by these individuals in these legislatures.
Thank you. It's incredible, the place we find ourselves in now. Ms. Arambidi, I apologize for the line of questioning you just experienced by my colleague on the other side of the aisle, but I would like to ask you your opinion. Justice Coney Barrett suggested that because adoption exists, there really is no need for abortion. And I wanted to know what you thought of that statement. And I also want to know what Professor Goodwin thinks of that statement.
I don't believe adoption is an alternative to an abortion. It's an alternative to, after giving birth, giving the child up for adoption or keeping the child, but it's not an alternative to abortion.
Let me just ask, I asked you that question, especially because I heard your testimony about where you were in your life at that time.
Sure.
So that's how I wanted you to think about it from that perspective and listening to your very impactful testimony.
Sure. If at 25, I had been forced to carry a pregnancy to term, I would not have survived. I have no doubt that I would not be alive today. I would not have been alive to continue or to start my medical treatment for my mental health issues. I wouldn't have been alive to have two healthy pregnancies, despite how difficult those pregnancies were. I wouldn't be the mother that I am today and have the two wonderful children that are my whole world. Because pregnancy.
Do you say that because of your mental health status at the time, that you were not well?
Absolutely. My mental health status, I wasn't able to get up out of my bed. I wasn't able to walk my dog, take a shower, and that happened for months and months at a time. As someone that's gone through two complete pregnancies and carried two pregnancies to term, who had placenta previa, who had, a a breech birth, who had an emergency C-section that could have taken the life of my child or myself. Like, I absolutely unequivocally believe that if I had been forced to carry a pregnancy to term when I was 25, I would not have survived. Not only because of my mental health, but because pregnancy is more dangerous. And when you don't want to be pregnant, you don't want to continue your pregnancy, there are so many things that can affect you and cannot have a good outcome. And so, yes, I believe that I am so lucky that I was able to access the abortion care I needed within my community without many obstacles. And I wish that for anybody who's pregnant and doesn't want to be.
The time of the gentlelady has expired.